Yes, it's okay. Media and information literacy is about critical thinking. Media and information literacy is about critical civic engagement. Media and information literacy is about truth. It's about participation. It's about accuracy. Media and information literacy is about understanding diversity. It's about tolerance. Media and information literacy is for all. It's about you and it's about me. And you have been hearing this all morning from many distinguished professors. It's not easy to be the last speaker, and I want to thank so much Pierre, Maria, and the organizers of this conference, and my friends from Film Pedagodina, difficult to pronounce that one, UNESCO has been working with for so many years, for inviting UNESCO to this platform. I'll be speaking to you for the next 15 minutes or so about media and information literacy, or international media and information literacy. One could also say internationalizing media and information literacy. Now, I was asked to send a picture of me when I was a teenager. For the booklet, I missed the boat, I was too late, so I decided to make a public display of myself. So this is a picture of me when I was a teenager. Now I have a question for you. Do you think that this picture is the original picture? Let me see the hands of those who think that it's original picture. Okay. So the minority. So the majority think it's not the original picture. In fact, it's not the original picture. A little bit of cropping was done. And as we're talking about media and information literacy, photo editing is a major challenge in this particular area. I didn't change my face. I didn't do anything to my lips nor my eyes. No enhancement of my face. However, originally it was a full-bodied picture. And I was standing beside a wall that didn't look so nice. So we took out the background, and I was wearing a very white shoes at the time, which I thought was too embarrassing to show to a public audience. So we decided to cut the picture and show upper body. But forget about what I looked like when I was 18, or even what I look like now, and think about the organization that I represent, UNESCO, building peace in the minds of men and women. Because this is what media and information literacy essentially it's about. It's about building peace in the minds of men and women. In fact, each time I'm given this opportunity to talk about MIL, I always go back to one of the famous maxims of UNESCO that says that since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the bastion of peace should be constructed. Since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the bastion of peace should be constructed. We're talking about MIL, media and information literacy. 60 years later, 70 years later, that maxim from UNESCO's constitution is still relevant today, because we can translate that to say that if the use, misuse, or underuse of media, information, and technology begin in the minds of men, then it's in the minds of men that we should seek to correct it. If we could also say that if the understanding, misunderstanding, or the lack of understanding of information, media, and technology begins in the minds of men and women, it's in the minds of men and women that we should seek to correct that. And this is what this Media and Information Literacy Day is about. It's about building peace in the minds of men. It's about transforming how we think. I'll speak to you very briefly, as I said, about international media and information literacy, or internationalizing media and information literacy. Now, how could we conceptualize, how could we conceive international media and information literacy? We could look at international standards. That's one way to conceive international media and information literacy, in international frameworks. We could also look at international organizations that are working in the field of media and information literacy. We could talk about international MIL projects, initiatives, whether it's training, whether it's building resources, whether it's networking, whether it's research. We could talk about projects. We could also talk about international research. and we could also look at international policies. These are the areas I'll cover very, very rapidly in my presentation. Just as a caveat, for the purpose of this presentation, I'm using international media information literacy to mean media information literacy initiatives that are being implemented in 3 or more countries, in 2 or more regions. All right? So it's 3 or more countries in 2 or more regions. If it's a project that is being implemented in 3 countries just in Europe, then it becomes a regional initiative and not an international initiative. I thought I have a remote in my hand. A remote to move the slides so I'm not imprisoned right here. Now, on this first slide, you will see the status of media and information literacy globally. Now, this is quite anecdotal. It's not based on any sort of empirical research, but I believe it's a close approximation of what research finding will show you, that we could look at media and information literacy initiatives at different levels, at the community and institutional level, at the national level, at the regional level, and at the international level. Now, you will notice very carefully that the international level is very pale. The battery is not so charged because it's not happening. Not a lot of initiatives happening at international level. What we're proposing in UNESCO is that we need synergies across different types of projects. It is not that these projects are mutually exclusive, meaning that we're not saying that we should have more community-level projects over national project, or over regional project, or international project. But all these levels of projects should interact if we're going to have international mail, if we're going to sustain media and information literacy. And what we're seeing now from my rapid research is that the international level, the battery is very, very weak. Most of the initiatives that are going on now are at the community and institutional level. Not many at the national level. Again, not happening. A little more at the regional level, but perhaps there should also be 2 bars, not 3. All right? And maybe we could also say that one level is missing from this. What do you think that level is? The family. That could be another level. You agree? That could be another level that we perhaps could think about, that mail is also important at the family level, not just at the community and international level, but starting with the very basic unit of social and socialization. Now, in terms of international frameworks, as I said, we're looking at 4 or 5 different areas that we're talking about international media and information literacy. These are some basic frameworks or documents that can underlie the social, economic, and the socio-political dimensions of what media and information literacy is about. As far back as 1945 in the UNESCO Constitution, enshrined in that constitution is the importance of enabling the free flow of information and ideas in words and image across borders. And media and information literacy is important to that, and it's an important context to keep that constitution alive. Article 19, we talked about freedom of expression. People cannot have freedom of expression without being effectively media and information literate. There is the Alexander Proclamation that promotes lifelong learning, which is quite important to development across the world. There are other framework documents, I'm just highlighting a few of them. I don't know how many of you know about the Global Alliance for Media and Information Literacy and the Framework and Action Plan, which gives a very impressive overview as to the social, economic, and political context of media and information literacy. Now, what's the importance of these? Well, the final one is the Sustainable Development Goals, Target 1610. This is perhaps the closest mail will get to sustainable development. This is a very important topic across the globe today. In Target 1610, they talk about public access to information and other fundamental freedoms. In fact, media and information literacy is about freedoms. And this is perhaps a close hinge that we have to promote media and information literacy internationally, linking to the Sustainable Development Goals. Of course, you will all agree with me that media and information literacy is relevant to all the Sustainable Development Goals. In 2 simplified models that we have operating internationally, one are the 5 key questions of media and information literacy. You know, who produced the content? What is the message? What were the techniques used? who will benefit, who will lose, the 5 key questions of media and information literacy, those are used internationally. There are also the Big Six model, the Eisenberg Big Six model, with those who are on the side of library and information scientists. Can I see the hands of those in library and information science? Many persons will identify with the Big Six. What are information needs? How do you find information? How do you evaluate the information? How do you use the information and store it, and so on and so forth? These are 2 simplified models that are being used and have been used for some time internationally. There are also other conceptual frameworks that UNESCO is proposing that these models are relevant, but given the complex context and the shifting information, media, and communication landscape that we're operating in today, we need more complex models than these. These models are not sufficient. And so many of you know about these tools that UNESCO have developed, the curriculum for teachers, the media and information literacy policy, and strategic guidelines. That's an important tool. The global assessment framework. So we're dealing with curricula, policy, assessment. Now, there are other important international conceptual frameworks that should be considered. For example, information literacy competency standards of the American Library Association, and the study criteria that was done here in Europe, though that is a little bit regional. It is important to go beyond because of this circle, which you saw earlier in Swedish. So it's good you saw it in Swedish earlier. There's so many different notions of media and information literacy, which has created a lot of confusion internationally, frankly. All right? And UNESCO's approach is to harmonize these different concepts and notions of media and information literacy into this umbrella term. That if you're doing all of these, it is media and information literacy. Or you can say information and media literacy, whichever juxtaposition is preferred by the stakeholder. I know from my experience internationally, those on the library and information sciences side prefer to say information and media literacy. That is also acceptable. But this harmonized approach is what will drive international MIL and sustained MIL at the different levels that I mentioned earlier. That harmonization means that we should move away from terminologies, too much focus on terminologies, and to look more at competencies. All right, this is what UNESCO is doing. We're moving away from terminologies and trying to define these many different terminologies. You can imagine the confusion with near a dozen different notions of meal and hundreds of definitions from all of these, the confusions that can be created and is created internationally. And what we're saying is that we need to move away from definition and look more at competencies. And we have come up with these key 10 competencies of media information literacy as building blocks for all citizens to engage with information, media, and technology critically for their personal development, their economic, social, and democratic development in their country and in their lives. Now, usually the focus is on point number 6, critically evaluating information. You hear so much about that, all right? And what UNESCO is proposing is that for international MIL, we need a balance. We need to talk about people being able to recognize the information need. We need to talk about people being able to understand the role and functions of media, not information providers, including those on the internet in democratic societies. These are important competencies that all citizens should have. The ethical use of information is another important area that needs to come out. And most importantly, how do you engage? How do you engage the young people who are there sitting on the computer over there? How do we engage them? How do we give them competencies to engage positively with information, media, and technology for self-expression, for rights, for human rights, for intercultural dialogue, for promoting privacy, you name it. A simple model that UNESCO proposed is to look at media and information literacy and the purpose for which people use information. And you can see the different purpose there. For time, I'm not going to read them all out. I want to go rapidly. We should look at what understanding they should have. This is a simple formation of how we can organize these competencies. The purpose, all right, the understanding, and the process by which people become media and information literate. And finally, being able to use ICT skills, which is cross-cutting to purpose, understanding, and process. We need to be working with all stakeholders, and I'm happy to say that my observation is that Sweden is doing a lot of that. you have many different actors, the media literacy actors, information literacy actors, ICTs and digital literacy actors. And of course, educommunication is one that you're perhaps not familiar with, but it's very, very a big area, educommunication, that is in Brazil. Like right across Brazil, they have hundreds and thousands of schools implementing this program. But essentially, it's about media information literacy. We need common purpose, and we need common objectives to internationalize MIL. And finally, on this aspect of conceptualization is what UNESCO came out with recently called the 5 Laws of Media and Information Literacy. How we can set international standards to ensure that when we're developing media and information literacy program, we have balance, we have diversity in our competencies and approach. And so Law 1, quickly you can read it. Law 1 is essentially about whether it's information, communication, whether it's media, radio, technology, libraries, they're all equal. All right? And of course, these 5 laws were inspired by Professor S.R. Ranganathan. And again, those from the Library and Information Science will perhaps appreciate this. He came out with the 5 laws of library science, and he inspired these 5 laws of media and information literacy. So the first one, all these different forms of technologies, they're equal, and they should never be treated otherwise. We shouldn't say that the social media is more important than a book. And in fact, we've been talking so much about social media in this conference and in many conferences, and we forget about libraries that are equally important. Law 2, every citizen is a creator of information and knowledge and has a message, and they must be empowered. Media and information literacy is for all and a nexus of human rights. Law 3 is about the fact that messages are not always value neutral. Even what I'm talking to you now has some biases in it, all right? Because of my own background, experiences, and studies, I have biases in what I'm presenting to you. There are things that I'm leaving out, all right? So this is important in any media and information literacy program to speak to and make this truth transparent, that messages are not always value neutral. Law 5, every citizen wants to know and understand new information, an important law, all right? But it ends with, his or her rights must never be compromised. And Law 5, media and information literacy, is not acquired once. It's a learned experience. It's a process. We're always changing and growing. I'm still becoming more media and information literate as I attend conferences like these. It is complete when it includes knowledge, skills, attitudes, when it covers access, evaluation, assessment, use, production, communication, and it links to information, media, and technological content. So these are the 5 laws that UNESCO is proposing as international standards. Just to hear from young people, we're talking about young people, the conference is about young people. UNESCO is doing an international research on young people's youth response to MIL competencies. And this is one of the questions that was asked to over 2,000 youths across about 100 countries across the world. Do you use the media and information providers below? And you will see that books, surprisingly, I was quite surprised to see this, that 94% of them, of course, they could give multiple answers. 94% say that they're using books. All right, they're still using books. And if you look at libraries, still a high percentage say that they're using libraries, 78%. So this is just a word from the young people. Also, when we ask the young people, when you need information for study purposes, where do you look? Again, most people on the internet, not surprising. But important statistics is the level of use of books, all right, which is still relevant and similar. Again, use of libraries for study. And this is why MIL must be complete. Moving along very rapidly, when we ask the young people, do you think that everyone should learn about media and information literacy? Again, overwhelming majority, over 84% strongly agree that all young people should learn about media and information literacy. Again, when we ask them which of the following reasons do you consider most important for teaching media and information literacy to young people, you will see consistency, all right, that most of them say that over 55% say all of the above, all right? So they're not just looking at protecting children or improving research ability or critical thinking or to help children become active citizens. They want all of it. At least the majority of them are saying that. Now, very quickly, and I'm moving rapidly, I'm halfway through my presentation. The second area I mentioned, again, in terms of international MIL, are international organizations working on MIL. And again, you can see this. I'll not talk about it because of time. The ones that are highlighted are the ones that are very active in this area. But with this field that is so important, we should have 10 slides with listing international organization. All right? So there's a lot of work to do to bring international MIL to the place it should be in terms of international organization. I put Nordicom here because there's an important partner here in Sweden, and that it's a regional organization, but they're operating internationally. The third area is concrete projects. I searched and I tried to find projects, international projects, initiatives that are being implemented, as I said, across 3 or more countries in 2 or more regions. And it was very difficult to find those types of projects. The Media Lit project in Austria was one example. I will not discuss them again because of time. The Partnership for 21st Century Skills was another important project I saw internationally operating across regions. The Global Alliance for Partnerships on Media and Information Literacy, which is an initiative that UNESCO launched. Can I see the hands of those who know about the Global Alliance for Partnerships on Media and Information Literacy? About 5 or 6 hands I'm seeing here, not many. But I invite you to go to the website. It is the global network on media and information literacy that which you all should be a member of. Already we have over 600 organizations in network. I could tell you more, but please go to the website and see it. This project is another important project as we're in a film, in a cinema here, and I understand that there are many experts on film in this audience. This project is by one of the UNESCO sister agency, UNAOC, which is called Plurality Plus. It's about production, making films to young people. It's an international competition. All right. Another important project that UNESCO is developing is media and information literacy capacity building for youth organizations, and it's being implemented in different regions of the world. And the idea is not just to train young people, but to teach them how to integrate media and information literacy in their operations, irrespective of what activities they're implementing. Whether it's leadership, whether they're promoting gender equality, whether it's clean water, whatever they're doing, how can they integrate media and information literacy in their operations? This is what this project is about. I'm moving along very rapidly. There's another important project in France, do-it-yourself, media and information literacy, which I believe that is one that would be very useful for you. It is just developed by an organization called EOL. I forgot what the acronym stands for. But this particular project is an online Mooc for anyone who wants to teach media and information literacy. Even if you have no knowledge, this Mooc can help you to tell you how to go about doing media and information literacy in your community, in your schools, in your family, and to do it yourself. Another Mooc that UNESCO is doing is a Mooc for young people, massively open online course, which we launched a couple of years ago with the Media and Information Literacy University Network. Over 2,000 young people have taken this course. And in fact, they have contributed to the research statistics that I've been sharing with you at the beginning of this presentation. Finally, I believe one project is the International Media and Information Literacy Institute that we're trying to launch. We're doing a feasibility study together with Nordicom, and I believe there's a representative from Nordicom here, Ilana. This feasibility study is being done, and this is a project that is across regions of the world. Again, I want to give you more details about the purpose of this project, but maybe we can speak over coffee or something, and I can send you some information about it. But it's another important project that is coming on stream. When we ask young people, as we talked about so much about Mooc, just now in the concrete project, when we ask them, is this your first time taking an online course? I mentioned the Mooc. 63% said yes, it's the first time they're taking online courses. It's a huge opportunity for internationalizing MIL through online courses. Conferences, we can go rapidly through. You know many of the international conferences. We still see a number of, fragmentation, where you have the Media Education Summit, and then you have Information Literacy Conference, many different conferences across the world. These are some of the main and most important ones that are organized. And these conferences are important to keep media and information literacy on the development agenda of all stakeholders globally and should not be taken lightly. An important one is the Global Media and Information Literacy Week. All right, which is organized by UNESCO and other partners every year. This year it's going to be in Jamaica, and we hope soon it will come to Sweden, the Global Media and Information Literacy Week. Moving along in terms of projects, publications, I will not speak about these. You can see them on the slide. I think I'm running closely over my time. But these are some international publications on media and information literacy. All right? I'm giving you time to just scan a bit. We still need to read, and I see she's getting up, so I need to stop. All right? So I'm going to rush to the end. I'm going to rush to the end. All right, because I want to speak, I want to talk about policies before I show the video, so please just give me 2 minutes.
Sure.
All right. Yes, this is the final area that I want to cover in terms of international mail. How can we conceive international media and information literacy policies? The lowest common denominator, I believe, is an internationally recognized media and information literacy week. Though I mentioned Global MIL Week that UNESCO is doing, it's not an international day like World Press Freedom Day, not yet. But it's the lowest common denominator for international policy that we need. Again, these are other recommendations as what is needed to move towards international policies. Agreement among UN agencies. We need action similar to the European Commission individual directives. International NGOs integrating. And we need international policies must be complemented with national and regional policies. I want to close my presentation with a video. I hope it comes up. We tested it earlier.
Media and information literacy, critical thinking and creativity, literacy, intercultural, citizenship, knowledge, sustainability, equals MIL-clicks. We click millions of times each day. We click to search, read, watch, listen, interact, play, and create. But are we doing it wisely? Behind each of the clicks, there is information or content someone created. Do we know where to find information and what sources to believe? Do we know how to critically engage with information, media, and technology to get involved into peace building, dialogue, promote tolerance, diversity, equality, freedom of expression, and for better internet experiences? MIL-clicks is a new movement about media and information literacy. It is started as a shared effort of UNESCO, partners, and all of you. Use Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to play, relax, and learn. Involve your minds and hearts by sharing posts, tips, solving quizzes, creating content, and learning new skills. But we will also challenge you to practice your media and information literacy skills, to click wisely, creatively, and critically. This is part of what media and information literacy is about. Are you up for it? Join the movement. Look up, share, and create relevant content using MIL-clicks hashtag and become a MIL-clicker. Coming soon, accumulate MIL-clicks digital currency for wise clicking.
My final word to you, as I had to rush to the end of my presentation, that as we move towards a balance between international media and information literacy initiatives and those at the other levels that I discussed, is that we must place young people, youth, at the center of international MIL. They are a part of the solution. They're not the problem. They're part of the solution. And we have a lot of work to do with engaging young minds. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Alton Grizzle from the